4, 3, 2, 1. It's Saturday, February 28th. Recorded live from the English Valley's History Center. Here's Jackie.
Hello, my name is Jackie Geringer McDermott, and as he said, we're broadcasting from the English Valley's History Center. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes to keep the History Center operating. This includes cataloging sessions, creating displays, coordinating and preparing for monthly programs, responding to requests for family and community histories, keeping up the social media, finances, cleaning, maintenance, and providing treats for programs. There's a whole lot more activity that supports the center operations, and it is largely contributed through time and effort by the board of directors and volunteers. The History Center board is composed of Dave Jackson, president, Scott Romine, vice president, Bonnie Romine, secretary, Don Banning, treasurer, and directors Carolyn Elwood, Shelley Gerard, Alan Ackerman, and Dan Best. Please send donations to the English Valley's History Center, P.O. Box 70, North English, Iowa, 52316. Bonnie Romine says that souvenir of North English that we showed last week as the acquisition of the week likely came from the Greenblatt store, uptown North English. Julie Johnston recently shared this picture of Mrs. Van Fleet's class of 4th and 5th graders at Webster who graduated from English Valley's High School with the classes of 1968 and 1969. They are, in the top left, the first row, Julie Johnston, Ron Baines, Shirley Glider, Lester Weingarten, Peggy Wagaman, Louis Hoyleman, Sally Claypool, Larry Homan, Virginia Hervey. And in the second row, Bill Jacobs, Sandy Brower, Daryl Seeby, Helen Culp, Larry Lown, Steve Axmere, Randy Sorden, Fred Axmere, and Larry Lee. And in the third row, Barry Walton, Carol Diefenbaugh, Joe Greiner, Leland Hoyleman, Terry Lee, Karen Allen, Dick Hanley, Vicki Wyant, and Denny Lee. And in the bottom row, on the right side, is Cindy Yoss. And these are some pictures of progress at the English Valley's History Center. We wanted to show you these pictures of progress. Here's a picture of Carolyn Elwood and Bonnie Romine with a couple of the class composite pictures as they originally were. And here are Scott Romine and Bonnie Romine with the composites in the new display case that can be flipped through. We really thank Scott and Bonnie for all their fundraising and physical work on this project. And here are the new bookshelves. I gotta confess that it was kind of my idea because I could not get to the school annuals before. They are all arranged in order, thanks to the hard work of Scott and Bonnie Romine. And here is the straightened up EV Sports memorabilia area, where visitors can see the very first acquisition of the History Center, which was Jane Hoyleman Ackerman's letter jacket, the recently acquired North English letter jacket from Russ Bucher, Ron Van Berkham's VB's coaching shirt, Sherry Lockridge Moffat's majorette outfit, Stan Lowndes' North English baseball uniform shirt, Connie Dennis Pfeiffer's basketball uniform, Mark Claypool's letter jacket with all the heavy metals, a band uniform like I used to wear, etc., etc., etc. Acquisition of the week. Dave Fobert brought in these two flags last Saturday morning. These two flags were recovered from the basement of the community center. The first one is the United States flag with 36 stars, so it would be from before 1890 when there were 36 states. 38 states, Dave says. Dave plans to use this flag as a teaching tool for the Scouts on folding and flag etiquette. And this other flag is already hanging up near the ceiling in the Veterans Room at the History Center. It is a flag from the American Legion Auxiliary Unit of Ross T. Hadley, Post 488, North English, Iowa. Today, February 28th, is the day of the all-day fundraising event for the Knoll Ridge Pool at the Main Street Pub and Grub in North English. There will be a kid-friendly lunch beginning at 11, food and drink specials all day and night, Spike on the mic from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m., and a live auction at 10 p.m. There is also a silent auction on the Knoll Ridge Facebook page. If you live away from here and want to donate, the address is P.O. Box 114, North English, Iowa, 52316, or Venmo at Knoll Ridge, KNOLLRIDGE. And I learned a little myself yesterday when they were on a broadcast from Sigourney that they're intending to have to take up the entire decking of the pool, which would be the cement, to get under there to get to the pipes and things. So this is going to be a long-term project, and they'll need lots of donations. This is a reminder that the next alumni luncheon group will meet at the North English Main Street Pub and Grub on March 23rd at 11:30 a.m. Please contact Linda Holden Carter or Alice Floring Stramer for reservations when the time approaches. And here is a list of programs that will be featured at the History Center in 2026. For more information, you could join the English Valley's History Center Facebook page or do a pause on this screen if you're watching on YouTube. Correspondence. Rick Kavanaugh from North Liberty said, "Love listening to your broadcast, Jackie. So many memories." Mark Claypool from Sigourney said, "Jackie, today is one of those broadcasts that really hit me with the name of Benton Claypool and those pictures that I haven't seen since I was a little boy. Again, I can't thank you enough for what you do." Mark's cousin, Tina Claypool Milhoka from Colorado said, "The first time I've heard of Benton Claypool. Great name." We will be doing a story soon on Libbie Wade and Benton Claypool's brother Verner, or Vernie Claypool, who was the great-grandfather to both Mark and Tina. My listener, Bill Weber from Riverside, said he can't wait for the story on his great-grandfather, Verner Claypool. I heard from Marcia Wade Vinson from Lena, Illinois. She thought that her grandma Maggie Wade's middle name was Ethel. She also said, "Great Saturday morning podcast, my dear friend." Alice Floring Stramer from Watkins said, "You and everyone who helps you does wonderful work. You make Libby's diary stay alive, reminding us of people and times of the past." Pam Kavanaugh Shield from Cedar Rapids said, "Thanks, Jackie. I love the broadcasts. Takes me back to the good memories of North English. We didn't know how good we had it, LOL." I got several compliments on my smile. Thank you, everyone. I really do feel a lot better since my heart procedures are completed. I wanted to share a few more little articles today from Marion Long's stories. These were from her daughter, Mary Wade, gave me a list of things that Marion had talked about her early life. Her grandmother was Rachel Tennessee Blair. The death of Rachel Tennessee Blair in 1938, who we featured in an earlier story. Grandma Blair, or Tennessee Humphrey Blair, passed away February 20th, 1938. What a time everyone had getting to the funeral. Ice was on the ground, and it was not unusual for cars to get part way up an icy hill, make a complete circle, and slide back down to the bottom of the hill. And this was with chains on. And she also had some memories of George Hardy's murder in 1929. She would have been about 9 years old. There was a murder in the neighborhood. I really do not know if this happened while we lived there or later. This is still one of Iowa's unsolved murders. His name was George Hardy, a bachelor and a neighborhood barber and merchantman. A man with the last name of Leakin was suspected, but nothing was ever proved. Ivan, who was her brother, and I used to go to Mr. Hardy's store with Grandpa Long and Dad. We considered this a big treat. It was the only place to buy candy. Mr. Hardy also seemed to me like he must have some relation to the characters in Huckleberry Finn. I was really scared of him. After he was murdered, I was also scared of his place. His house was eventually torn down and the ground plowed up. I think he was an in-law to both the Longs and the Carters. Henry Hinkle. Henry Hinkle came to visit us occasionally. He was either an uncle of Mom's or an in-law. Mom didn't care much for him. He was a salesman, selling books, coffee, pans, and horse services. He was also a master storyteller. I could never understand why adults did not care for him. To me, he sort of represented Santa Claus. He also gave Luella Claypool and I our first chew of chewing tobacco. Like I said, he was a salesman. Marion Long Wade tells about when her mother, Louise Claypool Long, had pneumonia in 1933. Aunt Lib Wade is on the left in this picture, and her niece Louise is to her right. The others in the picture are Jaunty Claypool, Otis Claypool, and my grandma Bertha Geringer. In Marion's words, Mom had a lot of bad luck this year. Once when she was chopping wood, a stick flew up and broke her teeth. In December, she got pneumonia and nearly died. I don't recall the dates. I do know she had went to town around the 10th of December, and at that time had a terrible cold. I remember Dad going after Aunt Lib to care for Mom when she had pneumonia. There had been a lot of snow, and he was to meet some Claypools and Aunt Lib around Green Valley. They did use cars. How they kept from freezing up, I don't know. Probably kerosene in the water and the engine covered with blankets and cardboard. I don't know how the people inside were able to stand it, because I'm sure there were no heaters in most cars at this time. Even if they had to only go 20 miles at 20 miles an hour, it still would have been at least a 2-hour drive. Getting enough fuel, coal, and wood was also a problem. A ton of coal lasted just a week, and this trip had to be made with a team and bobsled. When Mom was sick, the wash boiler was filled with water and was kept on top of the stove. This was probably for at least 2 reasons. One was for the steam, and they also kept Mom wrapped in hot, wet blankets. Of course, Dad had to miss a lot of work, and one didn't get paid unless they worked. I missed a lot of school, and maybe all of us kids did. I do recall that all of us passed our lessons. Maybe Aunt Lib had something to do with the Long kids all passing their lessons. Just a thought from me. You might remember last week we mentioned the passing of Ruth Hoppe, who was Ruth Wright when she graduated from English Valleys in 1966. We have a picture of her here on the wall at the History Center. This is when she was dressed in her clown outfit. She was Sweet Sue the Clown, and she was in most North English parades for many years. We're interested in learning about historical English Valleys items that you might wish to donate to the History Center. Please contact Dave Jackson, Scott Romine, or any board member to donate. Now we will continue with the Diaries of Libbie Wade. This diary was written by Libbie Wade. She was my dad's great aunt, and her full name was Mary Elizabeth Claypool Wade. She was 75 years old in 1950. This is a picture of Lib and her birth family. She is the young girl in the middle between her parents, the older couple. She is actually almost 20 years old in this picture, but she looks younger. October 3rd, 1950. Harry's birthday, 1890. How time goes by. Seems only a short time since he was a baby. The first baby in our family, and he was so nice. Henry Joseph or Harry Joe Claypool, was Lib's oldest nephew. He is a little boy in this picture in the front holding the hand of his grandfather, Jonathan Claypool. His aunt, Lib, is on the other side of him. Lib would have been almost 16 years old when her first nephew was born. His parents are behind him, and they are Minnie Smart Claypool, and his dad, Verner Claypool, is beside her, holding the little boy, Roy Claypool. And here's a picture of Harry Claypool when he was older. More about his family in an upcoming feature story. Several of my regular listeners are Harry Claypool's descendants, such as Shirley Cochran and Jackie Pruitt from Mountain Home, Arkansas, Suzanne Claypool from Texas, Carolyn Atwood from Jensen Beach, Florida, and my distant cousin Mike Coffin from Belk Plain, who might be interested in history, but I am not sure. It is colder today, but still clear and bright. I sent an order to Kitchen Club for section 12 of the cookbook, and for the griddle that is advertised as being extra nice. I sent Hattie a letter this morning. Hattie Newberry Killian is Lib's friend and neighbor who is in University Hospital in Iowa City. Hattie has cancer and has just had an operation. Sliced a few green tomatoes, all I had, for pickles. Had dinner. Russell took the stovepipe up to get a new one fixed. We decided we will use the range for a while yet. We have fuel for it, and it seems foolish to buy a new stove right now. Times are bound to be hard with war and all that goes with it. Lib lives in the house of her son, Russell Wade, who works at the nearby Home Lumber Company as a truck driver and a laborer. Lib is very concerned about the escalating Korean conflict. Stella was here this p.m. She thinks she may go over to Parnell on the bus tomorrow to Eva Cuttle's Aid Society. Stella Wallace was Lib's friend. Her daughter Lena is married to Lib's son Warren or Mike Wade. Russell was to go to Cedar Rapids this p.m., so he'll be late getting home. Belva and the children came about 8. Don went uptown. They had brought Mrs. Yoss home. Lucinda has grown so much since I saw her. She is a very pretty child. Michael is getting to be a big boy. His flesh is so solid. He wanted me to lift him. Don was in a while, and then they went home. Belva Yoss is Lib's oldest granddaughter, and this is a picture of her in the later years. She was married to Don Yoss. And their children are Michael or Mick Yoss and Lucinda or Cindy Yoss. Here's Mick's graduation picture. And a picture of Cindy Yoss when she was middle school aged. Cindy Yoss was the mother of Tammy Steinerson. I am reading Louise's book, A Woman with a Sword, a Civil War story by Noble, a novel on the life of Anna Ella Carroll, an unusual story of an unusual woman. Lib's niece, Louise Long, gave her a book to read. October 4th, 1950, was 20 degrees at Atlantic this morning. Benton's birthday, 1862. Benton Claypool was Lib's older brother. He is shown here in this family picture where he is the second man from the right in the back row. He was the father of my grandma Bertha Geringer. Benton was born in Ohio and came to Iowa as a very small child and always lived in the Yankee Point area, north and east of town. October 5th, 1950. Cold this morning, and we will need more fuel soon. I haven't got the kitchen stovepipe up yet either. We'll be fixed soon, but I don't want it to be too long. I read a while and then was putting my sectional cookbook together. Flossie came in a while. She had brought her girl to school. She works nights at the seed corn plant east of Williamsburg. Gets home about 6 in the morning. That, with her driving into town every day, is quite a lot of work and not too much time to sleep. Flossie West is the granddaughter of Lib's cousin Wallace Claypool and lives with her daughter Barbara West in the country with her parents Millard and Molly Claypool. Flossie is on the left in this picture when she was later a telephone operator in North English. After dinner, I read the Williamsburg paper and then washed the dishes. Aunt Minnie called. She is pretty well, she said. Aunt Minnie Claypool is not Lib's aunt. She is her sister-in-law. Everyone else calls her Aunt Minnie, so Lib is calling her that too. Minnie Claypool is standing behind Lib in this picture, and she's not holding a baby. Her husband is holding baby Roy. Minnie and Lib are the last of their generation still living in 1950. Maud came down, was here a little while, and Beth came in. Harold came down later. Molly Claypool is Lib's niece by marriage, and she is married to nephew Ray Claypool, the son of her brother Verner Claypool. Beth Moll Holmes is Lib's youngest niece on the Claypool side, the daughter of her only sister Sarah Myrtle Claypool. Moll. Beth is married to Harold Holmes, and they live in Kyoto with their teenage son Vaughn. Beth is very close to Lib too, as her own parents passed away many years ago. Beth was also very informative and nice to me when I started researching family history when I was a teenager. Stella was here too. She had a nice time yesterday over at Parnell. Saw several that she used to know. Harold and Beth stayed until nearly 5. We had a good visit. Vaughn has enlisted in the Navy. He is to go for physical exam the 18th of October. He and 6 other boys from Kyoto. Stella was told of John Curry's death yesterday morning, very sudden, was starting his car. Myrna Miller and baby went home from Minnie Zomer's yesterday. I received a card from Hattie. She thinks she is getting along okay. Mrs. Carson is to have another operation. Belle Carson, who was the wife of clothing store owner W.C. Carson, lives across the street from Libby, beside Minnie Zomer. Belle Carson is also very sick with cancer. She is in this picture on the left with Pearl Warner and her husband, W.C. Carson. Mr. and Mrs. Carson lived in this house. That house is also in the right in this picture. On the left is the Geiger house, which is now a parking lot. That's it for today. We'll see you all next time. Thanks for listening.